Today I wanted to do a video about bakeware. So here's the thing, getting ready to go into season 6. I'm going to start including a little more baked goods with my releases. So in other words, you're going to be seeing some cakes and some frostings and some applications. So we're going to get into some fun little videos. And this is going to be some wonderful items, some wonderful treats to make for the holiday season. Nothing like having a little cake. Folks, today we're going to be talking about the bakeware that we use. Now, before we get started, I'm not selling any brands. I'm not going to try to sell a brand or even push a brand. I'm not going to discuss brands. I don't care about brands. Whatever brand you're interested in, go for it. What I am going to talk about today are the different materials that bakeware is made of. You know, you generally have your metallic, ceramic, and glass, and also, we'll see metallic, that would be cast iron, and there's ceramic coated cast iron. There's all kinds of different ways of seeing it. So what we have is that. We want to discuss the different materials, benefits, shortcomings, and what you need to think about when considering a purchase for bakeware. Now, bakeware and cookware, if you'll ever notice in catalogs when you go to stores, it's always kept separate. They're side by side, but they're separate entities. And that's because bakeware does not do well on the stove as cookware. And cookware, some of it will work in the oven, but as a general rule, it's not designed for it. So, one is stovetop, the other is what goes in the oven. Now, bakeware is anything from a basic, simple, flat piece of metal that you can cook a variety of different things on, including just heating up frozen items. Bakeware can be as fancy as a molded dish designed to make whatever you're cooking come out a certain specific shape. There's a lot of different ways to look at bakeware. So let's take a look at some of these options that I have in the kitchen, and we'll see what bakeware is like. First thing I want to mention though is in a moment you're going to get a little different view, and that's because I'm going to switch the lens on that camera right there. I'm going to switch the lens on that to a wide angle lens so that we can kind of cover a little more area, see a little bit more. And so if I look a little distorted when I get off to the sides, it's because of that. Other than that, it's a very good lens and it'll give a good straight shot on what we're looking at. It won't look bent or weird. Get in the kitchen. This is all about bakeware on Texas Cooking Today. Let's take a look. Bakeware, well, how do I first define it? Bakeware is subjective. Bakeware just really depends on what you're looking for in life. I have some of all, okay? I've got glass, I've got ceramic, I've got, I have the fancy molded stuff, I've got the plain Jane metal stuff, I've got metal stuff without the coating on it. This is the metal stuff that'll rust. And folks, let me explain. If you're gonna go out and buy a set of cake pans, and that was the reason I got these, was when I'm teaching making cake. You don't have to spend a fortune. I went out and intentionally got basic pans with no special coating or anything so I could teach the right way to bake, okay? The right way to coat this and to prevent your cakes from sticking so that they will release properly. So I wanted to teach those lessons and I needed the right pan, but at the same time, to get that I had to get the cheapest pan they had. These are more than sufficient to make beautiful cakes, and you're going to see me make some multiple layer cakes using these, okay? Pans. If I was going to suggest to somebody the very first thing to go and buy, I would say probably, well, let me pull one out here. I would say probably one of these guys. This is the sheet pan. The sheet pan, likely the most practical pan that I can think of. There's so many things that we bake on sheet pans. And we're not talking just cookies here. You think about all the times that you've pulled something out of the refrigerator, out of the freezer, that was a pre-made something that needed to be heated in the oven in order to be enjoyed. You didn't want to microwave it, you wanted a regular oven to get the better quality crust or whatever. It went on what? That's right, went on one of these. These things are really cool. I have a set here that I've been using a long time, and one of them that has a lot of buildup on it, and that's what some people would call seasoning a pan. One of the bad things about bakeware, you're going to find out, it doesn't matter if you have the fancy coatings or not, if oil gets baked into it, it doesn't wash off as easy as they make it sound, okay? In fact, in many cases, it's permanent. So, that's something there. You have to think about this when you're buying any kind of pans. Space. We all have to think about space, unless you're one of those who has a very large house with a whole lot of space. And let's face it, that's not the vast majority of us. Many of us don't have a lot of space, so we have to pick and choose what we're going to have. I had to throw away pans to make room for other pans, okay, in order to do what I do here, which is teach. I wanted to teach baking, so I needed more bakeware, and I had to make room for that, okay, because we're going to be doing cakes and stuff for the beginning of season 6. Not the whole thing, but in the early part. I needed extra stuff. Now, there's ceramic. Do you buy ceramic? Do you get metal? Do you get glass? What's the best? There is no best. Some things are best here and some things are best there. If I'm going to make a little souffle, I want a souffle dish, and that is generally ceramic. And it's a good thing. They hold heat in a nice way. They keep the souffle high because of the way they hold heat, and they make a beautiful presentation that they can hit the table just like it is. Okay, so sometimes something like that or this, you know, different shapes can make all kinds of different things. Can you bake a cake in this? Well, sure can. I imagine you could do something very fancy in the way of a cake in this. It's just up to your imagination. As far as shatterability, you can drop a metal pan and it likely won't shatter, but it very likely may dent unless you buy very heavy pans. And over here, some of my pans are a brand of pan that is steel, and they're very, very heavy. They don't dent very easy. They're a commercial line. And so when they hit the floor, you better hope that you're wearing some steel-toed shoes. Otherwise, you may end up getting an injured foot, broken toe, because they're heavy. They're very, very durable. As far as what shape, it depends on what you're going to make. Again, when people ask me, what's the first pans I should buy for baking, I always tell them the same thing. Start with some sheet pans, and then when you want to bake other stuff, decide what you want to bake and buy the pans appropriate to it. It doesn't do you any good to buy a stack of 4 round cake pans if you don't plan on making any round cakes. It's not a very smart purchase at that point. All right, so the cake pans are a good idea if you're going to make cake. Not such a good idea if you're not. And in any case, you might want to look at stackability. I'll say this, metallic pans are much more stackable than the glass pans are. They can nest a little bit, but not in the same capacity that the metal pans do. Do you need pizza pans? What do you need? I don't know. It depends on what you're going to cook. I like making little pizzas, so I bought a bunch of little teeny tiny pizza pans so I could do little individual pizzas. I would even freeze them, and that way I could pull them out during the week and just heat up my miniature pizzas and have what I wanted without having to heat more than I wanted to eat. Do you have kids? Are you going to be making birthday cakes? If so, let me tell you, that rectangular dish is the best thing under the sun if you're going to be making kids' birthday cakes. Anybody that's a mother that's made birthday cakes for their children knows that, you know what, it's fun to do a layer cake, but if you're going to be realistic about all the other stuff that goes along with the birthday party, This one's a whole lot easier, okay? So there's practicality, there's the way you see it. Bakeware can also be for, let's say, casseroles. So having a variety of bakeware that allows you to do savory dishes like this is great for doing casseroles. I've done so many green bean casseroles in this dish, I can't even name them all. Okay, a lot. Okay, it gets used regularly. Do you enjoy pie making? Then you better get some pie dishes. Doesn't matter if they're glass, doesn't matter if they're ceramic, and it doesn't matter if they're metal. They make pie dishes in all three. Any of these you can get that way. You can't get a glass springform pan. You can only get a metal springform pan. But for the most part, most pans can be purchased in multiple forms. Muffin pans, specialty shape pans are almost always going to be metallic. Do you need a bundt pan? Depends. Do you plan to make a bundt cake? Okay. There's no specific type of cake that comes out of this pan. It's whatever cake mix that you put in there is what comes out of this. A lot of people think these are only for pound cakes, and they're wrong. You could put a sponge cake in this and have that come out and it'll be just fine. I just did it the other day, in fact. I've been experimenting with some new recipes. All right, so cast pans are wonderful, but this guy doesn't nest with anything, so it takes up that much space wherever I put it. And that's a lot of space in a small kitchen. Now I have a whole collection of these things, all right, because I like molded pans. I think they're really cool, and I think they open you up to a lot of ideas and options. But this doesn't give me as many options as these. This, just a little under 40 bucks. These, just a little under 10 bucks. Now, what I can do with a layer cake, or with a group of layer cakes, is just amazing. I could do 4 layers, each one a different flavor. Okay? I can do all kinds of icings. I can cut that in half and do half moon shaped cakes. You get a lot of options with a pan like this that takes up not a lot of space relative to a pan like this that's going to gobble space. All right? These are cool, they're fun, and you should buy them if you want one. If you like it and you want to try it, get one. Man, they make some really cool pans, okay? Again, I'm not touting brands here. I'm not going to say you should buy this brand or that. We haven't mentioned brands and we're not going to. Now, non-stick coatings. Yeah, let's talk about that. Now I got here, this is a pan, a famous brand name, and they have a very slick coating on it. You know what? Bully for them. Now on a pizza pan, doesn't really matter. Pizza just slides off of whatever you bake it on. That's just the way bread is. Rarely does bread stick. I don't see bread stick often. You know, often it's baked on stone. It doesn't stick there either. So that's not a big deal to me. But in a pan like this, should I buy a pan like this with a non-stick coating or not? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to put a non-stick coating on this pan. Whether it has one or not, I'm still going to hit it with a non-stick coating. I'm either going to smear it with some type of fat like shortening or butter, or I'm going to take it and spray it with a baker's spray that has flour in it. Either way, it's going to get seasoned out, either with fat and flour or a spray-on mix with flour. And then I'll bake in it. And I don't care what kind of finish it has in it. And the reason I say that is I have taken some of the finest pans that you can get, that money's going to buy. And if you don't season them, even though these are very slick, and most of the time they would release, when you need it to, that's going to be the time it sticks. And you end up tearing part of your cake, and a quarter of your cake is left stuck to the top of it, and you end up with a mess on your plate and a decision to make. Do you just go with what you got, or do you rebake? All right, so you can't trust the non-stick surfaces, so they shouldn't be, in my view, they shouldn't be a part of your buying decision. don't buy a pan based upon whether it has non-stick anything. Pick the pan you need for what you're going to make, and then use proper baking techniques to get the results you're looking for. And that's what we're going to be teaching in the beginning of season 6 when it comes to baking. So I wanted to first talk about the pans, what to look for. Should you spend a bunch of money? Heck no, you should buy it as you need it, based upon your needs and future needs and the desires of baking that you're going to do. If you're only going to bake bread, guess what? For the most part, some loaf pans and some flat pans, and you're ready to bake bread. And that's some pretty inexpensive pans right there. When it comes to learning baking, bread is a good place to start. All right, lots of pans. There's my phone. So anyway, as I was saying, there are a lot of pans, a lot of cool options. Pick out what you want. And as we get into season 6, I want to show you some neat stuff. Maybe you'll have some new desires for some new pans. It just depends. But don't waste money on stuff that you may end up never using. All right, there you have it. This is Texas Cooking Today. Thank you for watching this episode. Please look in that description box right below me there. You're going to see a place where you can get a link where you can get my recipes, the one that you saw a little earlier there, a place where you can get my shirts, stuff like this. I have other products there. Take a look. And if you would take a look at Texas Cooking Today, my channel, hundreds of recipes, really good ideas, best techniques you're ever going to find. And folks, it's right here on Texas Cooking Today. Thank you for watching this. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and you'll be surprised. I read most all of my comments. I try to respond to a lot, but I can't get to everything. Be patient if you're hoping for a response, or ask a second time. Folks, thank you very much. Please have a good day. Be safe. And I'll talk to you later.